let's get started now here with the one. Tappet Janelli. Is that what it is? Tappet Janelli?
I guess
that sound good?
This is a 1.8 on the main track for people that are unfamiliar.
All right.
It's the Kentucky Oaks.
Actually, the 1 and the 2 are both 30 to 1. Do you have? Is there any chance for either of these horses?
By the way, the Derby this year gets a purse upgrade to $5 million, and somebody forgot to tell them that the Oaks is the important race for 3-year-old fillies is the purse remains at $1.5 million. Unfortunately, they did not go up at all on the purse on the Kentucky Oaks, whatever that's worth.
Yeah, where's all the people going to be pissed off about? They'll be picketing on Friday.
They're too stupid to know. Unless somebody tells them.
Back at the top of Janelli. Look, I think she's never been the best horse in any of these prep races. She got beat by a couple of these other foes, Torpedo Anna, Lemon Muffin, both defeated her the last 2 starts. She's done nothing to show that she's going to be able to repeat that trend. So I'm not a fan here of Tappet Janelli.
John, anything on Tappet Janelli? Jin?
I agree with you. The 1 and 2 have no chance.
All right. The 3 is Where's My Ring, a 15 to 1 shot. And if you take a look just at the races this year, 14, 13, 11, headed in the right direction, coming off a win in the Grade 3 race at Aqueduct.
Yeah, well, Val Brinkenhoff, the trainer, does really hard work. He's like a one-man operation. He does a terrific job in California with limited stock. He shipped a maiden to run in the Gazelle last time out at Aqueduct, and she won.
Get away from Baffert.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He wanted to avoid Baffert.
Now it's perfect. Now he goes to Churchill where he can stay away from Baffert.
Right, he gets to avoid Baffert again. This is an improving horse. She's getting better with every start. I mean, she's still got some improving to do. I don't think she's good enough to beat these, but, she has a chance maybe somewhere on the bottom.
Okay.
Look, I mean, that last race, though, John, was good. The Gazelle race, a 1 1/8, which is the same distance as this race. I mean, we know the one thing. Look, there's a couple of horses here you don't know if they want to see out the distance. You know the distance isn't going to be a problem here for Where's My Ring. And really, to be honest with you, her second place finish last time and it wasn't a bad performance either, just getting beat by Baffert and Kinza. Look, I think she's okay. They ran her. They've always liked this filly. They ran her in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile as a maiden last year too. So they've been very high on this filly for a long time. I agree with you. I think she can definitely pick up a piece here at a big price.
The 4, Regulatory Risk, the 20 to 1 shot. You got Chad Brown, of course, training this horse. Ortiz will be on board for the first time, so a little bit of an upgrade there. Coming off a 12 last time out, finishing second in that Grade 3 race at Aqueduct, John. Expecting a bounce here?
No, I just don't think she's any value. I mean, and I like other horses better in the race. She does have a chance, no question about it, but I would try to beat her.
I think there's no bones about it. Between the 2 Chad Brown horses, he much prefers the barn much prefers the other one. She was 4.5 lengths behind Where's My Ring last time. I don't think she's as good as Where's My Ring. I don't think she's as good as others.
The 5 is Torpedo Anna, and this is a 5 to 1 shot. Hasn't really run a bad race. 14, 9, 14 last year, starting off with an 11 in a Grade 2 win at Oaklawn. Late March, John. What about Torpedo Anna?
We gave this horse out last time when she ran in the Oaklawn race. We did that race. Listen, the horse had a 9 top as a 2-year-old. She ran an 11 first out this year. A lot of times the McPeak horses are not as good, as 3-year-olds as they were as 2-year-olds. That being said, the horse certainly has a chance.
Nice filly. I mean, she was very good in that race last time. You know what's interesting, John, and you tell me on this one that's curious to me. You mentioned that stat about McPeak, and I agree with you. And it doesn't necessarily seem to matter how much time in between starts. It's not necessarily a bounce factor. Like, in your opinion, she ran on March 30th. We're now talking about, May 3rd? Okay, yeah. So, I mean, you would think that there was enough time between starts off the big effort first time back. But yet you do have to take into consideration the fact that McPeak horses do tend to bounce a little bit after a big performance, huh?
No question. Not only that, he squeezes them early. He squeezes them at 2. I don't know for what reason, whether they like to sell them or whatever, but he likes to, to get right to the bottom of these horses early. And again, most of them not as good as they get older. They're better early in his barn. Just
You know,
my opinion.
the other thing too, and she was very well. I mean, she ran very well last time out, but that was Oaklawn with the short stretch going a mile and a 16th. Now we're stretching out to a mile and 8th. She is a daughter of Fast Anna, and I know she's got Uncle Mo on the bottom side, but the question will be is can she see out the distance? She's got the right running style to win this race. She's going to sit the trip. She's going to be stalking position and make the first run. But I'm just not 100% sold on her. And really 5-1, you're not really getting a lot of value if you do like her.
The 6 and 7 are a couple of long shots. Lemon Muffin and Fiona's Magic. Either of these horses intrigue you, John?
No, they're both slow. You're looking at the same numbers I'm looking at. You're going to need a 10 or better to win this race. The 6 and 7 cannot run that 10.
There was a good piece the other day online on YouTube, I think through Twin Spires from Phil D'Amato, and they were watching him breeze Stronghold, who we'll talk about later on in the Derby. And he goes, look, the last works that they have, it's not necessarily that you're going to win the race, but you can certainly lose the race. And I think Lemon Muffin lost her race, breezing 58-1 last week. She won the first 3 races in 33-3. If you watch the video, and there's a couple of pictures from Barbara Livingston from Daily Racing Forum, the rider looks scared as all heck. I think they blew this race in the workout, and it's going to be very difficult to come back in less than a week after that big work in 58-1. Fiona's Magic, she's a nice filly, and Michael Yates. Look, credit, you talk about small barns. Val Brinkerhoff does a good job. Credit to them, 2 years in a row getting a horse in the Kentucky Oaks. Of course, they had Darth Vader last year. And Jonathan, you were all over Darth Vader last year. It was trying to stretch out, and she ran really, really well that day. And she's gone on to do well. She's running in, I think, this week as well at Churchill. For me, I don't think that this filly really wants to go that far. But she's okay. She's a pace presence for sure.
Next up is the 8 Tarifa, a 7-2 shot, Cox and Pratt combo. The sheet line looks really good this year. 14, 13, 9, heading in the right direction. 4 wins out of 5 lifetime. What about Tarifa, John?
She's fine. It's Brad Cox, always dangerous. The horse really hasn't done anything wrong. This year, each race is better than the previous one. Not only that, he spaced her race as well. And Pratt's been on this horse the last 2 times. He's won, and he's done the right thing by her. He's given her time. She's 7-2. I like another horse in the race a little better, and this horse certainly a major player in my opinion. 4 for 5 lifetime has never, one loss in her whole life, so got to mean something.
Looking for back-to-back victories of this race, winning this race last year with its mischievous. Look, I think at the end of the day, the thing with Tarifa, to me, everyone says she's looked really good on the track, and I haven't been the biggest fan of this filly, and I understand what you're saying, John, that she's 4 for 5. She's 3 for 3 this year. I question who she's beaten. When we covered these races on the road to the Kentucky Oaks, John, we talked about some of those races maybe being deeper. There were small fields, 6-horse fields, but we thought that the fields were okay. But in hindsight, Intricate was poor in both of her starts at Fairgrounds. Vivi's Dream wasn't really quite the same. The other Brad Cox horses didn't really show up. I'm not saying that she's not a nice horse, but I'm still not sold on Tarifa yet. She just doesn't have that wow factor to me. And I thought the race at Gulfstream, the prep last one, the Gulfstream Park Oaks, and we're going to talk about these 3 fillies here coming up now. I just thought that Gulfstream Park race was more of an impressive race to me than the Fairgrounds Road, and I'm just going to try and beat her. I know she's 7-2. I know Brad Cox horses always show up, especially there at Churchill Downs, but I'm going to try and beat this filly. I'm still not sold on her.
A little bit of a warning here is that you see here the Churchill race 0 for 1. That was the worst sheet line for Tarifa. Ran an 18 in that race. That was last November.
It was career start number 2. She was breaking from the rail going a mile at Churchill. Not an easy thing to do. So she did have, and it was her second start of her life, so she bounced. She did have a license not to run well there, and she did.
And it is important to note, of course, if there is moisture in the track, she did win the Rachel Alexander on a sloppy track 2 starts back.
Back-to-back long shots again. Everland and Into Champagne, the 9 and the 10 at 30-1. Same thing, John. Is either of these horses pop out for you?
Into Champagne ran a big number as a 2-year-old at that time of the year. She had the license to be anything, but she only came out this year and not so good. When you run a 14 in June, you're eligible to run an 8 as a 3-year-old. She hasn't run the 8. I mean, she may run it. I don't think it's coming soon, and I don't particularly like her.
Two things here. With Everland, this I guess would be considered the rich strike of the Kentucky Oaks, right? Having been claimed for $30,000 out of a maiden race earlier this year, or December 30th of last year. Pedigree to run all day long by Arrogate out of a Tappan mare. Has never run on the dirt before, so you don't really know what to expect. The workout certainly doesn't scream that she loves the dirt, breezing in 51-4, 60 of 60 at Churchill Downs last week. But good for the connections, claiming 1 for 30 and ending up in the Kentucky Oaks. As far as the 10 Into Champagne's concerned, she's going to be my top pick.
Okay.
I know she's 30-1. She just look. We nailed the Oaks last year, and this filly reminds me a lot of Pretty Mischievous that won the race last year. She wasn't coming in off a victory either, but she had run well. I didn't think it was the best ride last time out. And look, Ways and Means, and we'll talk about her here in a second, is a really, really talented horse. I'm not going to take anything away from her or Power Squeeze. But from a value standpoint, Ways and Means is 5-1, Power Squeeze is 12-1, and you're getting 30-1 on Into Champagne. And I think she's better than that last race will kind of indicate. I love the breeze pattern coming into this. She's got 2-minute works at Churchill Downs. Ian Wilkes knows what he's doing. People forget about Ian Wilkes. Look, he's won the Kentucky Derby before as a trainer and as an assistant for Carl Nasker. He knows how to get horses ready for these big days. And I think this horse can sit the perfect stalking trip. And I think this filly is a really, really nice horse. And 30-1 is very disrespectful. I think this filly's going to – look, I know she needs to get a little bit faster. But if she does, she's right there. And she's also won on a sloppy track. Her victory, first of all, in that maiden race first time out, and then the Glitter Woman Stakes at Gulfstream were two of the most impressive races of anybody in this race. If you just go from a visual handicap standpoint of watching all these races, Ways and Means is going to have the most impressive one when she broke her maiden. But Into Champagne's, her 2 races after that were probably the second and third most impressive of anybody in this group. And so for me, just looking at that, how we handicap races, I think there's a lot of value there at Into Champagne. If you don't want to play her on top, I would definitely use her underneath. I think she's sitting on a big, big race here at big odds.
Very impressive. 30-1 shot. And Into Champagne ran a 12 in that race in March. So you could look at that 16 last time out as a little bit of a bounce. And if you're right, then hopefully this horse will pick up where she left off after the 12 and gain more momentum moving forward. All right, Ways and Means is next. 5-1 shot, as you mentioned. Tyler Gaffleone on board for the first time, coming off a runner-up finish last time out in a Grade 2 race. Ran a 10 in that race. 2 11s last year, so that's pretty solid, John, in 3 starts.
Yeah, this is my top selection. The line on this horse on the sheets is very strong. You don't run an 11 first out as a 2-year-old, and if you do, you usually don't run one in your second start without much time off. Then you come out as a 3-year-old and you run the 10. You know, the only question I have is she was beaten at 5 cents to $1 last time out and 4 cents to $1 the time before that. So she has been beaten at short prices, but she's 5-1, and I don't think she's going to go off the favorite. I think they'll probably go for just FYI again. They have other horses to go for. Yeah, I think you may get 3-1, and I think that's more than a fair price. The line, again, is very strong off the sheets on this horse.
Look, she's a really nice filly. But she's a headstrong filly. I mean, you don't see Chad Brown horses working in 46 very often. And I know he wasn't thrilled with that performance. He wanted her to breeze a little bit slower than she did. She's doing it on her own. And she's a really, really nice horse. I just don't know if maybe she's going to be better long-term as a miler than as a mile and an 8 horse. But she's all about making her top pick. She's a much-used. I'm just going to take a little bit of a swing thinking that she doesn't want to really go a mile and 8. That's my only question on it.
By the way, I did check just because you were mentioning the weather. I guess right now they're saying 70% chance of rain on Friday.
That track dries up very fast, though. But yeah, they're expecting rain.
It rains every year at Oaks and Derby.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many suits I've had ruined from for Oaks and Derby.
Okay, next one up is Power Squeeze, the 12 at 12 to 1 in 3 races this year. 11, 14, 11. This horse is on a 4-race win streak. She's got 4 wins out of 6, John, and you're getting 12 to 1.
And she beat Ways and Means last time out. So, you know.
Isn't that a little disrespectful, John? She beat Ways and Means last time.
Ridiculous.
She's 12 to 1. Not even, I mean, she's more than twice
that. How do you do that? That's just, and she beat her on the square. The Ways and Means had no excuse.
Correct.
No, I mean, you must use this horse. I mean, at the odds, it's not even a question. I don't like the 3 races as a 2-year-old, but 2 of them were on sloppy tracks, so I could excuse them for the most part. What makes Ways and Means so strong is her first 2 races at Saratoga.
Oh, for sure. No, I understand. I just thought 12 to 1 and 5 to 1 when she beat her
last time. That's ridiculous.
Was a little bit crazy. But look, George Delgado's had a lot of success this year. He seems like he's got this filly, firing on all cylinders. And you got to like the fact that she took her show on the road. She's won at Delaware. She's won at Gulfstream. She won at Tampa. So obviously she's not dependent on a racetrack at all, which I think is an important sign. And she's looked good training over the track. She didn't breeze over the track like many of these other ones, but since she's been up there, she's been moving forward. It's really funny from a pedigree standpoint because Union Rags won the Belmont Stakes at 1.5 miles, and I'm convinced that all of his foals want to go 7 furlongs. And I know this horse won a 1.16 miles last time out. I don't think this one wants to see out the 1.1 miles distance as well.
All right,
so that's the reason why I'm going to fade this filly. She's a nutty. I think she'll be tough in the Acorn at Saratoga in 5 weeks' time. I think Ways and Means is probably going to gallop in the Acorn, to be honest with you, because that mile at the Acorn distance is going to hit Ways and Means between the eyes. But for me, I'm just going to fade her a little bit. I don't know that she wants to go 1.8 miles.
Just FYI is next up. The 13 at 9 to 2. The sheet line is okay. Last year was just average, but at least this year, John started off with the 11 in that second place finish at in the Ashland Grade 1 at Keeneland. And this is a horse that we talked about. I forget why on our preseason show.
Well, because she won the juvenile race. She won the Breeders' Cup. She won 2-year-old filly of the year. So that's probably why. I wouldn't say that her line last year was average. I think it was pretty good. 16, the 18 was in the slop, and then right back to the 14. She's okay. I mean, but now you're in post 13. We're getting to really far outside posts and not much value. This horse will be one of the favorites. I mean, of course she could win, but, I just like Ways and Means better. But she's fine. If you want to play her, there's nothing wrong with her.
She had everything seemingly go wrong with her to start her year. She ended up scratching from a couple of races she was going to run in. She finally gets started in the Ashland, which was not the plan. And in the Ashland early on, it looked like she kind of didn't have much interest in running. And then I thought she finished up really, really well. Nobody was going to beat Leslie's Rose that day, but I thought she finished well. She gets over to Churchill Downs. And again, a little bit of a strange thing with weather or whatever. Hall of Fame trainer Bill Mott worked her on April 18th and came back 4 days later and breezed her 5 furlongs in 59-4. I'm not going to argue with Bill Mott. Bill Mott's as talented a trainer as there is in the country and the world. He seems like there was a reason he did that. And since that race on April 22nd, it's great watching these the breakfast with the work shows here for the Oaks and Derby horses. You see she's just really, really moving very well at this track. She seems super happy. She's a must use for me. I agree. It's not an ideal post position for her. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. If they try and move forward with her early on, or if they want to just kind of get over and save ground. Junior Alvarado's going to have some decisions to make. But she's a nice filly, and she's coming into this race the right way, despite all the setbacks she had earlier this year. It's funny because I've always had this belief that to win the Kentucky Derby, nothing can go wrong. If anything goes wrong over your course of the year, you're not going to win the Derby. With the Oaks, a little bit of a smaller field, It's a really talented field, but I'm going to say that she still has a shot here. So I'm going to use the 13 just FYI for sure.
Yeah, I took a look at our predictions, your predictions at the beginning of the year. And which fillies are your top 3 horse of the year candidates? You both had just FYI. You had Full Count Felicia, and Chad had Emerfate. John had Tamara.
And none of them are still running. They're all on the sidelines, I guess, for the most part. So. And if just FYI is running.
Yeah. What happened to the other 3?
I'm sure they're on vacation.
They're just no good?
No, they've hurt. They
they're
had
injured?
setbacks. Yeah.
All right. Next up is the 14, Leslie's Rose, a 4-1 shot. Pletcher Irad Ortiz Jr. Sheets.
Chad, they run all 16 here? Or anyone on
No,
the
just 14. 14.
14. That's all they run is 14.
From the configuration of the track, the mile and eighth, the mile and a quarter, they're able to back it up a little bit, and you can get the gate there. The mile and an eighth, starting where it starts, they feel like they can only get 14 in there.
So Our Pretty Woman and Candid are on the AEs looking in.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
The sheet line is nice for Leslie's Rose, really nice. 13, first career start, breaking her maiden this year. 12, 15, and 11. John.
Yeah, she's fine. Is she really 4-1 morning line? What's the price on this horse?
Yep, 4-1.
Well,
4-1's the morning line favorite, though.
Yeah, 4-1. Why would this?
Tarifa 7-2. Tarifa 7-2, and she's 4-1.
I guess because she won the Ashland, but big deal.
Yeah.
From 4-1 from the 14 post. Good luck.
This is a $1.1 million purchase for Mandy Pope, daughter of Into Mischief, who won this race last year. My problem with this horse, though, and maybe it's not fair. I was at Gulfstream the day she won the allowance race over Gunsong, and she was 1-5 that day. And Gunsong ends up being a nice horse for Mark Henning, but it took her a long time to put the horse away. Look, they're 8 lengths clear of third, and she did get the victory, but it wasn't really like super sexy. She came back and bounced to the moon in her next start at odds of 3-10. And then when she won the race last time in the Ashland, it was a really, really weirdly run race, and she had the perfect trip. I mean, just tripped out perfectly, won the race. I like how she finished that day, but I don't think Just FYI was ready. A couple of the other fillies didn't show up that day. I'm just going to try and beat her. I think she's okay. I just prefer a couple of these others more. That's all.
All right. By the way, I was just noticing there, I know they're different racetracks, but Just FYI's last win in that Breeders' Cup race was from the 12th post position, so at least that's something to work on. Okay. John, you're going to go with the 5.
One was at Santa Anita and one was at...
that's what I said. It's a different track.
Yeah, I like the 11 here. I'm going down with the 11 Ways and Means. I'll play exact as with the 8 Tarifa, the 13 Just FYI, and that'll do it.
11 over 8 and 13.
Yeah, you might as well throw the... that's it. 8. Yeah, 11 with... Yeah, that's it.
11 over 8, 13. Chad, you've got the 10. Another long shot, 30-1 shot.
You know what? I should throw Chad's 10 in there. Let me throw Chad's 10 in there. The horse did run a 14 first out, and he's 30-1, and I have the utmost respect for him, so I'm not too proud. 11 with 8, 10, 13. There you go.
I'm going to play the 10 into Champagne on top. I'll use the 11 Ways and Means, the 3 Where's My Ring, the 5 Torpedo Anna, and the 13 Just FYI. But really heavy, just kind of into Champagne, Ways and Means, Just FYI. I'd play into Champagne at odds of 30-1. I'd play her in all those spots. You know, I mean, there's so much money wagered on the Oaks and Derby cards. You can make a lot of money if you play around with her.
You get the horse across the board, you're going to get a price.
Sure.
So with whatever numbers you're playing, you must bet something on this horse to win. You don't want to blow the number if you happen to be right.
This is one where you play the 10-cent superfecta, and if she comes in the top 4, even with some of these favorites like Ways and Means and Just FYI come in, just her at 30-1, and I think she'll drift. I don't think connections don't take a lot of money, So I think she might end up going off a little bit higher, and I think she's going to run a big race here at big odds.
All right. I'm going to go 13 over 10, 11, 12.